Earphone not working, eh?
I don't think so. Right from this, looking at it just before.
Okay. Let it be. Okay, good morning. So we recite this prayer to Manjushri together. Lama dong gombo jambo yang lan chon so lo pange lon den den yen den do nyedra nanda rosa jin yen den gwen jin zijir nyedjen do gar le bam zen kondo se be chen ro mare Mendon donga jizre dozo kenla pujen darze yen lo en tuje yonde zon rudren chedo nyemo nyelo leje jado ndolze je mare menze donga nyugo Jinye jenze rolde nandene dajin saje darze yenden lezo jazen duvengo chodan chodan chonyen jende dale menzen jambe yonlande amara pazana de amara pazana de amara pazana de amara pazana de amara Marabazana de 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 Marab Umarabazana de Marabazana 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 de Marab Umara Bhajanan de Zeden Jeje Chero Vizrenje Dale Demo Membarosa Kodan Denje Jonglon Dobaye Londe Bobe Noa Sandu Su Nonje Jingo Redan Jingo Rejan Janda Kadin Zonda Majiba Palo jinji jinja beja jindu dima me bala guera do de gozongu ba jimbe gonen chanza jinja zo jiu shiwa nen zeran dan jidu du jinja zon zimbaran zedu zo kongi shazan to e mingum gizar zimbe nondash zimbe zuen zendu barbendu gun mi gendu zejuru du jidama kune shuren jiden zumje konja be tuan be mogar be shebendirin dale inzur shon jinzo lembe men bombozer Jayanando Ranjan Jedo, Zenzo Bejan, Den Chombarwe, Bemanjunen Dale, Enzorjon, Gozondo Zengora Sherezem, Bemangara Jevani Junga, Susan Nanyate Denjazas, Kadralama Nanjenda Ejon, Zalenze Bejan, Jonindan, Tujelondo Nyambetungayan, Nadamba, Bedojenje, Konde Jugorzo Belon Jemba, Jime Vezre Javjenda Ejon. Redon jamba juno jinlale gombe lonle bobe terje do londo jinze jinze ngwanjur mibam jambe anjenda e jon namo guru jinyin bome dunje jezala gunja ranjun tuje jimbe jin tuje kala gamenda nawa palden la meja jeda e jon yende sanje gunda nyana ya kadin sanje gunel habe gwen zawe la meja la zoande tazundo ye lamna jela anjur Kongi dola riba loba dan doji denje menga nang laso loba zada ongur shinabe Nguji tinchen la men da e zhong Namorian Tamba, like it down the Nijinke, and the Gumda Dame, and Namdan, Duakunji, Danam Jizambar, Tamjeke, Dosu Surte, Jurji. Majurundua Naka, Danyam Besim Gentamje, Namdul Deni Dewal, Anameva, Yanda Kozu, Bisanji Jinkupan and Burchella. Chene Janko Sha, Te Chedu, Tewa Chimbo Shunglu, Jazachimbo Shivala, Teni Jizebe. Shun Chimbo, Chanju Simbi, Jubalan Juba Deni, Tsushindu, Sen and Yam Sulan, Jo Yamdo, Samba Shanju Chodu, Tujabatan Chibis and Sols. So at the begin, so we need to have this right motivation. And in order to do that, we need to generate this bodhisattva in this way. Start from the ones dearest, such as like a mother who have been offered full great kindness to each and every individuals, all four of those great kindness, or some of those, few of those great kind. Anyway, whoever survive at the moment, that is proving that they have been get the either all four kindness from their parents or any of them. That's 100% sure. Therefore, we are alive. We are still alive. And to repay to their kindness, that we can do so many things according to mundanes, kind of like a providing facilities and financial support and kind of like the medication care and so on. But anyhow, based on all those genuine great persons, their experience, so that paying kind back in this way, it is a good, but that's not really end up their all difficulties by providing all this support. So they're suggesting and strongly recommending the best way to pay their kind back is to open their, how to say, wisdom and the Pandulaga, eliminate their ignorant and to light the wisdom within their mind. And through that way, paying kind back to them is the greatest way of paying kind back. So for that purpose, that I will going to listen this Dharma teachings to in order to open or in order to light the wisdom within their mind stream. For that purpose, I'm going to studying this Mahayana scripture composed by Shantideva, and then I will going to implement myself, and as well as I will going to provide all this to one's dearest and towards all the other sentient beings, and kind of like a pervading the same sense towards each and every individual. And when we have generated that kind of intention, that's what we call the generating bodhisattva, and which is the foundation of Mahayana spiritual path. And without that, and Mahayana spiritual path will going to be unstable or unstable. And beside that, then we need to have a right conduct or the manner while listening, and this kind of Dharma teachings is some sort of like a listen carefully in an excellent way and try to memorize it, its meaning the first, and further if one's capacity or capable, then as well as the word, try to memorize it. And with that kind of preparation, and we need to listen this Dharma teaching. And then these are some sort of like a preliminary stage that we need to complete before we begin to actual teaching. And then the main teaching here, we are studying this way of Bodhisattva's life, and which has this 10 chapter and 4 theme. First 3 chapters are the how to say, guiding the first theme of this scripture, which is to how to have this genuine bodhicitta and bodhisattva's vow within oneself. And then the second theme is the guided by fourth, fifth, sixth chapter, and the not to just generate and receive the bodhisattva's vow, but how to maintain or preserve all this properly without transgressions, and if transgressions happens, and how to repair and rebuild, and all those is kind of like a guidance in this fourth, fifth, sixth chapter. That's the second theme. And then the seventh, eighth, ninth chapter, and not just to preserve this bodhisattva's vow and the generating bodhicitta, but further how one can develop and improve this bodhicitta, which we have already within ourselves. And then until what stage that there's a possibility that we should try to develop or improve. And then the 10th chapter is the last theme, and how that one should dedicate one's merit, and how one should make aspirations out of this merit. And that's how kind of like a main theme of this way of Bodhisattva's life. And then among this 4 theme, today we are here in the 3rd theme, which is that whatever we generate the bodhicitta and receive the bodhisattva's vow, how one should develop further or improve further. And that's what kind of like we are trying to study. And then in order to develop further this bodhicitta and the bodhisattva's vow, and what we need, the main is diligent meditation and wisdom. So these are the 3 things we needed in order to improve or develop. And then first, diligent. So here, diligence, how to say, one can have improve, or one can generate or the habit diligence within oneself is by in a first stanza of this 7th chapter, which is very brief, contained that why we need to have diligent, as in this first chapter said it, that thus with the patient I will strive with the diligence, for in such diligence enlightenment is found. It is just like if no wind blows, then nothing stirs, and neither is there merit without diligence, or I can say likewise, there's no merit and without diligence. So that's the very brief, short kind of like advice. And some people, that kind of advice is alone, it's sufficient to generate diligence, saying, okay, so this because of the why I need diligence, it's because that I need to, how to say, accumulate enough merit to achieve enlightenment for the sake of other sentient beings. For that, I need diligence. So diligence now, and then in order to have a diligence within oneself, then one must need to understand what's the really diligent is, which is kind of like a, as we described in the second stanza, the first line, diligence means joy in virtuous way. So as I already said earlier, so this diligence is only goes with the positive interest, positive interest. It will never goes to the those negative interest, such as a kind of like an interest in business, interest in farming, interest in taming one's enemy or fixing one's force and so on, like that kind of things, and very diligent in kind of like the protecting one's family members and one's like relatives, friends, and so on. That kind of interest, it's not really necessary considering as a diligence. So the diligence, the meaning that we should recognize the what it means, the diligence, it is the joy in a virtuous way, that how it they translate it. So that's very good translations. And then the how to say, what do you call that? It's contraries. So it's contraries means it means the diligence, the contraries of diligence. So the contraries of diligence is there are three types of laziness, as we talk last session: the laziness of procrastination, the laziness of clinging to unwholesome actions, and the laziness of discouraging oneself. So these are the three types of sense. These are all sense. It is all our way of thinking. It is all sense. So when we have that kind of sense within oneself, and that destroys our diligence, that's reducing our diligence. So this type of three laziness, or this type of three way of thinking, or this type of three senses is the contrast. It's contrast. So, and then also Shantideva further introduced in a third stanza that from what kind of actions or from where this kind of three sense of laziness it's growing or generating is that it is how they translate it is a test for idle pleasure and the craving for repose and sleep. No comes about the sorrow of samsara. Laziness indeed is born from this. So Shantideva also introducing this, from where this kind of laziness will going to be born or from grow. It is so mainly these three things, and from these three things, while when we kind of like it is kind of like it is all like this. The first one is like the what do you call it, experiencing all those five desirable five senses. Normally we translated five senses, right? So the five senses, the form and what do you call a sound and taste, smell and feeling. Those five senses, and not just five senses, but five desirable senses. And when beings undergoing the experience of those five desirable objects, and that it is that will going to be trigger the sense of any of those three types of laziness. And likewise, kind of like a relying, or kind of like a always like to sleep, fall and sleep, and the not the understanding the defeat of samsara. So that's these are the three main Shantideva here provided, and three kind of like conditions which triggers our these three types of laziness. So in order to have a diligence within oneself, and we need to reduce we need to reduce this kind of like a three types of laziness, and without reducing and without eliminating that kind of three senses, and it won't let us uh, kind of like have a genuine diligence towards positive actions in general, and particularly the way of Bodhisattva's life. And we won't be able to have a genuine, real, true diligence in Mahayana spiritual path, in short. And the either we say Mahayana spiritual path, or the way of Bodhisattva's life, or the towards Bodhisattva's conduct, that the generally, and this kind of three sense will not allow us to have a diligence in positive activities, such as circumambulations, prostrations, offering, and confession, and rejoicing, and all those kind of like the reading scriptures, right? And then sharing the wisdom or knowledge, the spiritual knowledge with one's friends and relatives, and the it will it will going to hindrance all those kind of interest to engage into this kind of positive activities, will going to be reduced by not eliminating or reducing this three sense of laziness. So what do you call that in order to reduce this three senses of three kind of laziness, then the what do you call from this stanza four, and towards kind of like until 4 to stanza 14, almost like 11 stanza. So 11 stanza. From here, now actually generally, the Shantideva was providing the antidote, how one should reduce and those three sense of laziness, and how one can eliminate that. And then in order to guide that, and Shantideva showing all this method orderly. So the first, from this stanza 4 to stanza 14, the 11 stanza are the skills or the idea or the method. What Shantideva providing is the how to reduce this first sense of laziness, which is procrastinations. So the laziness of procrastination, that sense, how one should reduce and eliminate. And that is providing all these skills or the methods providing from this stanza 4 to stanza 14 within 11 stanza. Okay, so I'm telling you all this so you know that you need to understand all this from now in a very detail. So later when we take test, and everybody should able to give the right answer, and rather than going so round and zigzag. So like that, tuk, 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 answer. So that the first skills is to reduce the laziness of procrastinations. How to reduce and eliminate that? That Shantideva, mainly what Shantideva providing the skills is to contemplate or think about the uncertainty and think about uncertainty or impermanence. So meditate upon impermanence or think about uncertainty and then reduce this sense of the laziness of procrastinations. So the first, this stanza, the fourth stanza is the kind of like a, this all are this kind of like the what do you call it? These skills are little different, but the point is same. So the first stanza, which is first, let me read this one. Nyomon gyave shorneni kevi gyarne chugurne chida karne songyurba chide tadon mishe sams. That's actually kind of like a one skills, one method, but it will going to more suitable if kind of like a persons know that how fishermen are fishing the fish, how fishermen fishing the fish. So this is Shantideva using kind of like a meaning and example combination together to let us understand this our situation. It's just like that. Whether we are able to see or not, it depends on our wisdom, our intelligence. But the fact, our life while we are surviving, and it is just like that. So that how they translate it here. First, let me read this stanza 4. It's snared by the trapper of defiled emotion, enmeshed and taken in the toils of birth. Again, you have strayed into the maw of death. Maw of death, right? Maw means mouth. Maw of death. Maw of death. And what is it? Have you still not understood? With the question mark, right? It is with the question marks. So this Shantideva's let us think or contemplate that how our life is. It is just like that. The example which Shantideva giving those fishermen, right? The tapper, snared by the tapper, is they translated tapper here? Trapper, right? Trapper like fisherman, right? The trapper or fisherman. Fisher. No need fisherman, right?
No,
just fish. Fisher?
Fish is actually plural.
Fish.
Fish is plural.
Fish means
Plural.
to the person who catching fish?
Fisherman. That's the person who catches it.
Fisherman. Uh-huh.
Or, yeah.
So there's a no fisher woman then. It is a little bit discriminating. It is a little bit discriminating, huh? Oh, so all the persons who is going to fish all are men, maybe. Anyway, so the tapper here, how they translated, that will be better. It can be understand with both gender, right? Tapper. That's what they translated here, isn't it? Tapper.
Yeah.
What is that? Tapper.
Trapper.
No, yeah, tapper. Yeah, snared by the trapper. So here, this example and meaning, Shantideva's kind of like in a very skillful way, combining each this wood line has this one here. Okay, let me translate it here. This defiled emotion is the meaning. Okay, defiled emotion is the meaning. Example is the trapper. Trapper, it's like a defiled emotions. So the tapper, right? Tapper and the trapper, what do you call it? Snake. Trapper use this. Tapper use snake, isn't it? Snake. Snake is the kind of like a net, which snot.
Snare means to be caught up in the net.
Caught up in a net.
Yes, snare means to be caught up.
Okay, so anyway, it's talking about the net. Okay, so the net, gya in Tibetan, nyumon gyaveshun, gya means the net, which is catching the fish, right? They throw in the water. We can see this in everywhere, right? Wherever the fishermen, they throw the net and then catch the lots of fish. So tapper, it's like a defiled emotions. So defiled emotion, it's like a tapper who throwing this net in the water. Snat. And then kevi garne chujurne means this enmeshed and taken in the toils of birth. So the birth is the meaning, and the example is the enmeshed. Okay, anyway, so here, if I try to translate it from my side here, so what it's talking about, kevi gya means the net of the bath, okay, net of the birth. What do you call it? Birth is meaning, and the what do you call it? Enmeshing fish into the net. It's the example. Okay, you understand? So how one should combine these two examples is that birth is meaning. So enmeshed into the net, the fish enmeshed, right? Fish enmeshed into the net, it's example. And then chida karne son yurbas. And then kind of like the lot of death, okay? Lot of death, or the, what do you call it? The honor of your life. It is kind of like an honor of your life. And then going towards their mouth, it's like an example. Going towards into their mouth, it's like an example. So here, when we try to catch the fish, right? When we try to catch the fish, the first what they need to do is to spread it out, that net, into the water. And then second, they will going to take up, and then fish will going to caught up in a net. And then the third, what they will going to do is kill and eat. That's the procedure, right? That's the procedure. So now this is using as a metaphor, Shantideva. So whether we are right at the moment, whether we are able to recognize that or not, whether we have enough intelligence and wisdom to see that or not, actually we are just like that. That's what Shantideva was saying. For instance, while we are survive, it is just like that. The net is just thrown. When net is just thrown, none of the fish into the net yet, right? And then gradually fish will going to be into the net. And once fish is caught up by net, then definite it will going to be killed by this fisherman, and either this fisherman will going to be eat or someone will going to be eat. Whatsoever the point, the fish will going to be die. That's for sure, right? So just like that, at this moment when we are alive, whether we able to, this kind of things is very quick, isn't it? Quick, within few hours. Maybe some kind of like a very big net fisher, they will just put the net into the water and live there for a few days. And then after a few days, when they pull out, oh, then 10, 20, 50, 100,000 of fish will going to be caught up in a net, isn't it? In a knot. Is it snot?
Snap.
In a snot. Or in a net. So net. In a net, they will going to be caught up. So what Shantideva was really saying is this, that the moment we survive, it's similar like that. That what right now we are thinking we are alive, we can do whatever we want, just like those fish before they caught up in a net, and they will play, they will do together each other, whatever the pleasure of the fish they can experience, they will do it, right? But sooner or later, that's kind of like a fish, all the fish will going to be caught up and then killed. That's 100% sure. Likewise, this our life, that while we are surviving, we think that kind of like we are caught, kind of like distracted by all those pleasure of the mundane. And then we just kind of like ignorantly, without knowing that this kind of death will going to be happening without with oneself, and then let distract our mind, that kind of wisdom or the understanding, the intelligent, that kind of wisdom or intelligent is distracted by the mundane pleasures. And then we just forget all those important points, and then we just kind of like what do you call remaining dullness within this mundane pleasure. So that is just like those fish, and how they are just playing, enjoying the, I'm talking about fish, their own pleasure, okay? Fish or animal, whoever, according to them, they themselves, and according to their capacities, and they have the way to enjoy the pleasure within themselves, right? So likewise, the fish, and according to their pleasure, they are just kind of like the enjoying, and until this net caught them. And once this net caught them, and then those fish will going to be 100% to go to die. So just like that. Okay, so anyhow, so this is regard to this one stanza. I will also like to talk some side note, which is kind of like the here in those Western countries. So they do this some sort of like a fishing. That's they considering as a, I don't know, what do you call it? Part of their holiday activity, just enjoying, right? Even some of them not really fishing for food, but they're fishing for enjoy. Just catch and then throw it out. Catch another, throw in out. Catch another, like a few hours, just sit beside the water and then pull this, what do you call that? What do you call it?
Line.
The line. Yeah, the line. Very far. And then wait until it moves. When it moves, then immediately. I don't know. This is not the game. This is not something like you are in. You, I don't know why it is very necessary that people needs to enjoy in that way. There's so many other things that we can enjoy. Not necessarily that we should enjoy by playing with some being's life or some beings their kind of like a wound. We don't need to play with their wound. So just we can have some sense of understanding that if someone pulls the hook in your mouth and pull it, how you will going to feel. And then I have also heard that some those maybe these are a scientific way, or I don't know whether it is influenced by religious or scientific. And some of them I have heard that they consider fish doesn't have feeling, or fish is not kind of like a belongs to kind of like an animal, not like a being. It is just, I don't know, kind of like a toy. They're treating it as just like a toy. That kind of some strange informations I have heard. And I cannot believe myself, like how and people can think that we can see in the water they are moving, they are looking, they are eating, they are kind of like doing all the things that normal being doing it. So still, and they consider it is just fish doesn't have any feeling, or fish kind of like I don't know why they can say that, and why how they educate it in that way. This is something very strange. This is a side note, okay? Just here in the Western countries, they're doing this fishing as a fun, right? And that's, I don't know, that's very unfortunate. Why we need to, why we have to fun relying on somebody's life? Uh, how can we have a fun with the playing with the other's life? And then how does really gives fun? I don't know. But anyhow, so this kind of things that we need to share as much as we can with our friends, and let them understand this is also kind of like a beings that we shouldn't play, just like a someone who put hook in your mouth and pull you, then how you will going to feel. It's exactly that those fish is experiencing feeling the same way as how we will going to feel, right? That we can imagine very easily. We don't really necessarily have to have the experience that put the hook in our mouth and let somebody pull, and how you are feeling. You don't need to test it in that way, right? This, we are not that fool. We have this human intelligence. It can very uh, kind of like easy to make sense, easy to imagine that, oh, 100%. For me, sure, 100%. Oh, I will not going to I won't be able to bear it if someone pulls hook in my mouth and then pull it. Oh, no, no, I cannot bear it. That's for sure. So anyhow, so this is beside that, always I have that um, in our monastery we have saying this. Let me tell you this, very interesting. Whenever those kambos in our shedra give advice, right? Holiness let them give advice often, quite often. Actually, our Let Holiness wants both, not just Sheta, also the junior school in Tazang, that school, junior school. Holiness oftenly telling all those teachers, Kempos, Lopens, that you should give advice every week. and then and then some of our teacher Lopen Kembos, they feel, oh, every week give advice same topic, and people will going to feel uh, bored by hearing all the time, you cannot do this, you should do that, you should that. You have to wake up early morning, you cannot sleep very late, and you shouldn't be how to say, stay very late night, you should sleep early night, and blah blah blah, this kind of advice. And some of our friends, right now we are friends, the Kembo Lopens, they feeling a little bit uncomfortable talking this same topic over and over and over and over again. But our Holiness, or he is persistently letting them talk this same topic over and over and over again. From their point of view and from the student point of view, it's completely different. I can understand that. From their point of view, they feeling this is same topic repeating. But from the listener point of view, student who is listening, that is very much reminding. This is kind of like some sort of like we saying, some sort of like important things have to remind often, right? Have to remind often. Just like when we go to the what do you call the fly in a aeroplane, just buckle your what do you call it, seat belt properly, blah, we know that. But they I think some of those air crew, they are doing within a day maybe 3-4 times that same thing. Speaker talking, and then they showing the presentation, and then marks, pull your marks like this way, like, right? That is something very necessary actually. And then most interesting part what I have thinking is that exit may behind you. That is very interesting things. When people get so agitation and nervous, they could forget even the door, it's right beside you, and you can forget, and you are trying to look where is the door, right? That kind of things happening. That is very possible. So anyway, so my point here, so our Late Holiness persisting them to talk, give advice every week. And then sometimes they feel bored by talking the same topic again and again. Anyway, so that's not my point. My point is that what do you call it? In those one advice, and this I think one of our Kimbo, I could not remember exactly his name right now, but he said this so interesting thing. The person who is breaking the law of the institute, right? The person who's breaking the law of institute, I am sure they are not here listening. And then the person who preserving all the law of institute are listening this my advice. Actually, that is a little bit unfair. The person who is very careful, very kind of like preserving or maintaining the law of institute, are here present in this gathering. And then now we are scolding to you. You guys are doing that. From tomorrow, you shouldn't do this, that. The person actually who does everything what we are talking are not here, I know. And then what he said, interesting thing is later, but when after we finish this gathering conference, right? After we finish this gathering or conference, when you go to your room, and you should tell your roommate what today Kembo gave advice and what all those teachers warn us from tomorrow. Just like that here. I'm sure here we have few people. None of us fishing here. None of us playing with the another's life by doing this, what do you call it? Line?
Casting a line.
Throwing line. None of us doing that, I know. But still I am speaking this. It becomes like a little bit irrelevant. But why I am telling you this, so you can tell this to your friend and whoever like to have a fun by fishing, and then tell them that at least you can hint them that why it is necessary for you to enjoy in that way. You can enjoy in a many others way, like a play something, like game, right? Like a soccer or by cycling, or what to say, basketball, tennis. There are so many things to enjoy. And swim, you can swim, yeah? There's nothing, no problem. Swim. And then go to the park. Like that. Oh, so that now I don't need to talk all these things. So many ways, other ways to enjoy. Why? And then you can just tell if any of your friend going to have a fun with the fishing, then you can at least tell them, remind them, right? Sometimes they may forget those things that they can enjoy, you know. Their mind is so diluted and narrow-wit that they can only see that I can have fun by having the, how to say, fishing. You just open this narrow mind. You just pull this out and let them see the some others possibility that I can enjoy too. Not only this fish. And then also we can tell that also if even not listening, we can just make them a little bit guilty. No problem. We should let them make a little bit guilty and tell them, if you really necessary, if you think this is so necessary, this makes you so fun, and how you will going to feel if someone pull hook in your mouth and pull it out. Tell that kind of nonsense thing and let them feel a little bit guilty of their action, their activity, their way of having fun, you know? And that kind of things that I want you to tell your friends. And then I will going to tell my friends if I can. And just like that, if you can tell to your friends. And then that's also very much we need to look into the situations too. Don't talk this kind of things with a stranger, right? This is a little bit tricky. If a stranger asks, then I will definitely tell, even though a stranger. But a stranger will not going to ask that, highly likely. Anyway, so that's our all side note. So the main point here, what Shantideva are giving within this one first stanza is that we need to understand ourselves is just like a fish, which is kind of like so we here at the moment born because forced by this net, like a defilement, right? Defiled emotion. So the defiled emotions push us to born. And this born net will going to push us to death. That's for sure, sooner or later. So the he is kind of like a let us contemplate about impermanence. And this impermanent is the worst one, that no one wants to die. And there's nobody who doesn't is scared dying in this world, unless maybe they are extremely crazy or realized true nature of mind. Other than this two type of person, even I think extreme crazy, they will going to scare die, I think. I think only the person who will not going to scare is only the realized true nature of mind. Other than that, even extremely crazy, I think they will going to scare to die. Right now, we are unable to sense that because we are fit right now. We never assuming this will going to be happening. But the fact, it is just like those fish. I think even the fish, okay, so the fish, even when they caught up in a net, fish may not have that sense they will going to die, even, right? That's the very animal natural, ignorant. I don't think they are still able to think that they will going to die now. That much they are ignorant. So just like that, the person, what Shantideva was saying, the person who is unable to think that they are going to die, it's just like those ignorant fish. So if I am unable to imagine this, my, coming future, near future, which is death, not being able to imagine that, it is making, or it is showing that I am just like a fish. Those fish, even after caught into that net, still they are unable to have sense that now they are going to die. This is very truth. That, how can I say now? This is happening within our life, within a day-to-day life. We are failed to remember this death. Many occasions, not just one or two. And because of that, And then we procrastinating everything, right? We procrastinating every our responsibility. One thing is maybe we are not having that sense of death will come to me. And now this is very, okay, so this kind of topic, actually Shantideva talks here. This we already studied in 4 thoughts in Ngondo teaching. This is not really different method, okay? Just a different way of saying. Same point. Letting us contemplate and meditate upon impermanence. So the impermanent, okay, so this is something, what you call right now, theoretically, we understand this impermanent and death will going to be happen to me. But practically, we don't want to keep carry that sense continuously. Actually, yes, that's not the point, that we should keep carry continuously this sense of I'm going to die. Contemplating upon impermanent, particularly the death, it's not that. Contemplating upon impermanent, the particularly death, is to reduce or eliminate those sense which is laziness or procrastinations, our responsible, our purpose of life. That's the main thing. When we are not procrastinating our purpose of life, our meaning of life, then okay, then we are doing okay. I could say that. When we are not doing any sorts of like a true, real responsible of being a human, particularly this obtaining precious human rebirth, and not fulfilling its responsible at all. Just wasting, not doing any spiritual practice. So that's again here. That is again here that you see, I need to talk to the someone who is dying. And the person who is never thinking about, not trying at all, are not in an audience. Same way, now again, you must share this information with your friends. And these kind of like teachings, impermanence, are allowed to share with anybody's. There's no obligation for this. It is very common idea, which is very much helpful, actually. And then further, that this Guru Rinpoche said this very interesting things, that what is the fault that will going to be happen if I am failed to remember the impermanence, the particularly death. And what he said was, Mitau lote mebar mashepe tadung korwa dila shenching chak That is so important message. That is talking about so conclusion, advice, and point. That failing to understand the impermanent and failing to unreliable in this material phenomena, some mundane phenomena. And person who fails to recognize that, the consequences or the not being able to remember that and not being able to recognize that, the consequences of not being able to recognize that, not being able to remember that is then what he said. Still, we will cherish after this samsaric things. We will cherish after this samsaric things with the sense of desire and attached. That's the point. Okay, now here. What is wrong if I have attached and desire towards these samsaric things? And then consequences of that, what he said, this is so important, the last word. While kind of like a while keep hoping to have some pleasure and to have some succeed, happy. But the true experience within oneself, how I will going to end up my life is with the experience of suffering. See? So point here, what Guru Rinpoche advising, point here is that while in my mind, while keep hoping to gain some happy, but the tour within my life, how my life will going to be end up with the miserable. I will going to end up my life with the miserable while keep hoping have, how to say, spend my life with the, some sort of like a sense of like a happiness. How this is happening, this consequences is came from, and then this consequences came from the attached and desire towards these samsaric things and towards this samsaric phenomena. So when we talk about samsaric phenomena, we are talking something very vast, okay? Very vast. It is including this even fishing. Attach and desire to fishing. That is also including this within this samsaric phenomena. So, okay, so this, how that kind of like a miserable consequences happened, it's from the attach and desire towards samsaric phenomena. And how we are failed to avoid and reduce that sense of the attach and desire towards samsaric phenomena is where it came from. It came from failing to recognize the unreliable and impermanent. See, So the failing to recognize the impermanent and unreliable brings the consequences is attach and desire towards samsaric phenomena. And then the attach and desire towards samsaric phenomena brings the consequences, end up life with the miserable while keep hoping happiness. This is so truth. That's why, you see, that's why it's needed to remind ourselves, remember ourselves time to time this impermanent. But when we're saying about impermanent, remember impermanent and death, and then, oh, just, okay, the fact is actually, yes, Buddha said, even just remembering the death, impermanent, itself is spiritual practice. Yes, that's exactly Buddha said in Sutra. Among the perceptions, dushe, perceive, among the perceive, yeah, among the perceive of impermanent is the perceive of impermanent is the superior. That's what Shakyamuni Buddha said in a sutra. Dushe thamje ginane mitabi dushe chogo. So the point here is that by having that sense, okay, actually that sense itself, it's practice. That we need to understand, one thing. And then the main real true purpose of having that sense is to not procrastinate our responsible. Do it as much as we can, all the time, every day. If we do that, then somehow we are fulfilling our responsibility. Somehow, kind of like the, how to say, purpose of contemplating upon death and generally impermanent, it's fulfilled. Yes, it is fulfilled. And this kind of things is saying, you see, so the fish, right? The fish is not doing anything to themselves to free from this net. When they are not doing anything to free from their net, and that means they are not doing anything to free themselves from death. Understand? The persons who is doing it is, okay, I'm telling you this one thing is that not to increase our pride, okay? And if we increase our pride by this, then another problem. But somehow, yes, we should remind ourselves that I cannot get pride by recognizing what I am doing. Yes, definitely, that's needed. But besides that, okay, keep remembering, and I cannot get pride. Beside that, I can enjoy. We can enjoy that what we are doing to not to caught up in that net, not to experience that death, suffering of death, not to experience the suffering of death. We can enjoy that. And person who are having some sort of like interested in spiritual and studying these things, yes, this is something we are fulfilling our responsible. Yes, we are. But at the same time, I told you just before, but we shouldn't get pride out of it. If we generate proud out of it, pride or ego out of it, then it mass again. So without generating some sort of like a pride and proud, we can feel enjoy, yes, feel joy ourselves by engaging and trying best all the time. That is okay. And then now beside that, and these kind of informations, when we get a chance, and we should share with our friends. Sometimes to let others to understand this, we need to talk so much, which is many people doesn't have patience to listen. They need some sort of like a topic complete within 10 minutes. 20 minutes, oh, so long. 30 minutes, no, sorry, I don't have time. But I have time for fish, 2 hours, 3 hours. Just sit beside the lake, do nothing but just try to catch the fish. That I have time. Even whole day, if I need to stay, I will stay. But to listen this kind of wisdom, if you can tell me, if you can give me some wisdom within 20 minutes, I will bear it. If you need more than 20 minutes, I'm sorry, I cannot listen. That is so unfortunate. We can spend hours and hours sitting, just doing nothing, sitting beside the lake and trying to catch the fish. But we cannot listen this kind of wisdom, even 20, 30 minutes. 1 hour, 1.5 hours, 2 hours, oh, so long teaching. When people are going camping and when people are, I saw many. They just sit there doing nothing, hours and hours on the beach. Just lay down, sleep, fall in sleep. And or some sit on the rock. And then line up for the ice cream. We line up for the ice cream for hours, no problem, we can do it. And then for the food, for the ice cream. But we do have problem when we listen this kind of wisdom. 1 hour, that's so long. 2 hours, oh, forget it. How we are spending time on those. And similar, if we also make it ourselves able to spend time for these, at least it's equal, it's okay then. Right now, we are completely opposite. We are okay with the spending in a meaningless time, but we have problem spending time with the meaningful way. And we like to judge, plus we like to judge others so much than ourselves. Without looking ourselves, the way of I think, the way of I attitude, the way of I manner behave, rather than judging myself in this way, we like to judge others' behave, others' attitude, others' way of thinking, which is completely useless. There's no any meaning by doing that. Anyway, so the point here, this Shantideva's, the what do you call it? How to implement the remedy of procrastination, laziness. Procrastinate laziness is by contemplating upon impermanent, particularly the death. This is something everybody knows, actually, but we dislike to remember. We dislike to remind ourselves. That's the problem here. This is not something, but interesting thing is that here, what Shantideva was saying is like the person who is not being able to aware and recognize their death, their impermanent in general, particularly the death. It's just like those fish. That is something very interesting. I don't want to accept that. I dislike to accept myself like a fish. Oh no, I'm not that fool. I'm not that fool. Even I am going to the net and then still I'm not thinking that I will going to die after entering into the net. No, I will going to definitely think if I caught up in a net, I will going to die. From that sense, from that moment, I will going to have that sense. I am not that foolish as fish. I am I don't want to accept this. If I don't want to accept this, what I need to do is to understand the death and remember the death, think the death time to time. And neglecting, neglecting and forbidding the contemplating on thinking upon the death and impermanent. Even I say I'm not like fish, but in fact, I am like fish. I am having this laziness of procrastinations. I won't be able to remove that sense of procrastinations, laziness. So, Shantideva, now it's your choice whether you want to remove this, reduce and eliminate this, the laziness of procrastination or not. And then the same way, another next stanza, it's similar, just giving different metaphor, okay? That's it, same meaning. These teachings actually we studied very elaborate in a Monroe during the impermanent teaching among the four thoughts. Rang de rim ji soba yang chu ji thongar majur tam. Wen jang ni la temba kang dolba dani maheshins. Don't you see how one by one death has come for all your kind? And yet slumber on so soundly like a buffalo beside its butcher.
Peacefully sleep.
Yeah, slumber on so soundly. Here again. And yet you slumber on so soundly. Again, it's not necessarily you here. So this translation, he or she doesn't wanna accept her or himself. That's why he's just using you. That's easy to talk, easy to say. Normally, they translated I so much. At this moment, they like to translate you, not I. It's better translated I here. Yet I slumber on so soundly. If necessary, to put some sort of like I and some person, the particularly. But actually in Tibetan, there's a no you and I at all. It is just saying whoever doing this, not particularly you and I. And yet it is this you, and yet slumber on so soundly like a buffalo beside its butcher. So that is another metaphor. I said it. It is same like that. The first stanza, Shantideva using the metaphor on fish. Now this second stanza, Shantideva using the metaphor on buffalo. I think it is talking about general. But some buffalo, they may have some sense. Some exceptional, those cow and buffalo. Because my mom, when we are kind of like that may be not because of the understanding the death, that may be because of the attached desire by seeing their honor. Could be. And also it could be possible because they sense their death too. I don't know. We're not really sure. But let me tell you what happened. That my mom told me, yes, before, it is way before, yes, because it is way before that when my family members are very poor. It is after we our grandparents are escaped from Tibet, and then we settled down in the South India. The refuge came, and at that time, I think we already settled down, but not really well settled because of so many difficult that it still has to fix many problems. And I remember that we have to rely on our farm so much and our winter business so much. If the farm and winter business is not well, our year will going to be problem with the food, clothes, this very basic human needs. We have problem with those even very basic human needs. which is food, cloth, and shelter. We're relying so much on the farm and winter business, and then as well as beside animals, milk, the cow, and what do you call it? Yeah, the cow milk. And then one time, my mom told me, out of some sort of like a shortage, money shortage, she has to sell one cow from the home. At that time, she doesn't know that some Indian people comes actually in our village. Yes, Indian people, time to time, occasionally they come and check someone's willing to sell their domestic animal, right? Domestic animals. Someone willing to sell their domestic animals, such as a dog, cows, like that. And then one occasion, some Indian buyer came. And then at that time, my mom has this shortage, money for family survive. And then she have to sell this one cow. We have several cows. I don't know exactly the number, but not much, like 6, 7, 8. And she sold one. At that time, she is unaware that normally sometimes these Indian peoples, they buy the cows and so on, so do their farming job. And then after my mom sold this cow, a few days, and then my mom traveled towards Namdoling site, the Balakopi, where another Tibetan settlement came. And then on the way, there's a small town called Hunsur. In that, there's a butcher who sells the meat, beef. And then my mom went to buy some beef to carry to that her sister who live in Bailakopi, that another Tibetan came. And then the sister's family. I think I was in Namdoling at that time. And then what happened when she went to buy some beef, and she saw that cow is there in a butcher home. And then as soon as this cow saw her, she so much kind of like eager to come towards her, because she recognized that is also she, okay, cow. She recognized that her owner. She feels, and this is where she belongs, and she wants to come to my mom. And then my mom told me also she has a little tears in her eye. And then my mom, that moment gave her so kind of like I don't know what to say, pain, and together with the compassion, grief, yes, grief. And then one moment she thought she should buy this back. But another moment when she looked at her pocket, she doesn't have money enough to able to buy this bag. No way that she can buy back life. I don't know, even she have enough money, whether they will going to sell or not. But anyhow, at that moment, she is unable to buy this bag. And then she, how to say, generate this lot of grief within herself. Actually, she went there to buy some beef, but forgetting about that. Even now, she is unable to stay there a moment. And then forget about buying anything. She just walked away. There's nothing else she can do it. So that's now here. Why I am telling you this, it is related with this stanza, right? And what I am saying is maybe some buffalo, they may have some sense of their death, but highly likely most not in those animals, right? Even though they're sitting beside the butcher, they just eat grass in a very calm abide meditation. In a very calm abide. And then that's how they have this ignorant. Their friends are killing right beside. But still, they just sitting and eating grass like in a very calm stage. When we see this, okay, through our human intelligence, when we see this, what we think, oh, poor this cow, how they are ignorant. We think that, definitely, isn't it? I think that, yes, for sure. How it almost like makes me like this. How this cow can eat grass right beside in a very calm abide, with a very calm abide. It makes like me kind of like the what do you call it? Agitations together with the what do you call it? Ichi. Agitations together with the ichi, my body. How? Normally, I believe every human can sense that when they see this kind of things. Real in their eye, okay? I'm talking about that. When we saw real front of our eye by our naked eye, that some cow in a butcher sitting there and eating grass with a calm abide meditation. That's very foolish, isn't it? Simply, we can say that. Anybody can sense that, I think. And then related with that, that cow, I don't know whether she really cried and eager to come to my mother because she saw her own owner with a sense of attached, or she understand now she is going to die and then asking rescue from her death. That I don't know. It could be either, isn't it? It could be either. Some animal make sense, I don't know. But generally, sorts of talking, animals being able to sense that, it is very impossible. Yes, that is their natural ignorant. That's why we call Tundro Lunmong. right? Lun Mong. Lun is very dumb, right? Dumb. Is it? Dumbed and ignorant and what do you call it? Yeah, dumbed and ignorant. Lun Mong, the Tibetan word. Lun is dumb. Mong is ignorant. Means not being able to see their own future. Not being able to see what is going to be happen next within an hour even. Day, year, forget it. Not like human. Human can perceive some sort of like after decades, they make plan for the decades. Right? I make plan for the decades. I think you also making planning for the decades. Ani is disagreed. Very good. Ani is very good. Ani, she doesn't make plans for the decades. That's great. Anyhow, what's my point is that we human have that intelligence able to see future, even decades, not just month and years, but decades. And on the other hand, those animals forget about decades, even forget about years and months. They are failed, even able to sense after 1 hour what is going to be happening. See, that's how they are ignorant and dumped. That's natural problem of animal, being animal, which those buffalo and cows is also part of animal, which means they have this same fault, the dumbness and ignorance. So the here now again, Shantideva was trying to make us buffalo, okay? If Shantideva tells me directly, you are like buffalo, oh, I will going to reject. Maybe I will going to argue with him. Excuse me, you said I look like buffalo? Right? What did you say? We human forget about like buffalo. Even somebody say your nose is a little bit twist. They get, what do you say? Excuse me, what did you say? We will say that, isn't it? No, actually, Shantideva was saying in this stanza, we are like buffalo, okay? Indirectly. Means the persons who are failed and unable to sense the impermanence in general, particularly the death of themselves, which going to be happen, right? Not being able to have that sense, not being able to utilize that sense and understanding, recognition, it is equal to the buffalo here. Like a buffalo besides its butcher. If anyone, right, including Shantideva, anyone who tells me that you are dumb and ignorant, just like a buffalo, are you willing to accept that? I'm not. Here, Ani and me having two different thoughts. Ani, she said she will accept. But I said, I will not accept. Rather than I am accepting, I am buffalo, I will going to have a sense of death. I will tell Shantideva, okay, I will going to accept, I will going to remember my death. I will not going to like to accept as a buffalo. No. You see, anyway. So this is something Shantideva is telling us, okay? The persons who ever failed to recognize their own death, even seeing all those examples beside them, their friends, relatives, who are already gone. Some of them are already gone. Some of them are going right now at the moment. By even seeing all this, but is still able to sleep well and able to procrastinate our responsible. That whoever doing that, and those are just like a buffalo beside butcher. But on the other hand, by seeing our those ancestors who already gone, and then the relatives, parents, those elders, persons, not necessarily elders, but generally adults, generally sorts of speaking, the elders who are going, who are gone, or who are going, even by seeing them. And then through those examples, if I am able to have some sense of my own same situation as them, that it will going to occur to me sooner or later. If I have that sense, yes, continue that sense by watching those examples beside and around you. When you able to maintain this sense within oneself, I will going to able to reduce and eliminate this laziness of procrastinations. So the main purpose is to reduce, right? Reduce and eliminate completely the sense of procrastination. That's the main purpose of contemplating upon, using those metaphor and contemplating upon impermanent. Anyway, okay, so we just stop here today. Time is over. Time is very limited. And then we have tomorrow too. Tomorrow we can start from stanza 6. Still that we are here studying how to implement, okay, how to implement the remedy of procrastination's laziness. Okay, last time I forgot to dedicate. This time, last time, I don't know how I forget, but somehow I forgot to dedicate, huh? Which means that last time this teaching activity failed to become a Mahayana path. Last time my activity of Dharma teaching failed to become a cause of enlightenment. But within this period, until now, if I didn't generate any anger, then still I can dedicate today. But that's difficult for us normal people, right? Anyway, so now dedicate. Don't forget today. And then if I forget, you guys can remind me next time if happen like this, okay? You just unmute yourself and speak up. Oh, Truku need to dedicate. Or Ani, you can remember, remind me. It's very easy. You don't have to do unmute and so many things. Okay. Sanam de tamje zigba nyi, tomne nye ben danam pamje ne, shega nanje walak tuba yi, sibin so lendo ando warasho, jambo pawe jidara kembanda, kundu zambo te yan de jinde, te da kunje jesu ndalochi, Gewan de dan tam je rab du ngo, Gewan de ye she okun, Senam ye she tozo ne, Senam ye she le jong we, Tamba kunyin to barasho, Sanje kuzum nyebe chen lam dan, Chenye mengyur dembe chen lam dan, Gendin me chen dembe chen lam ge, Jidra mowa me, Rubarsho. Read in English. By this beneficial activity, may I obtain omniscient and having vanquished the harmful enemies, anger, delusion, may I liberate all being tossed about helplessly by the waves of birth, aging, illness, and the death in the ocean of becoming, by conforming to the knowledge of courageous Manjushri, Jambal Yang, and in the same way as Samindabhadra, Kundusambo, and following their example, I dedicate perfectly all this virtue. By this virtue, may all being perfectly achieve the accumulation of merit, surinam, and wisdom, yeshe, and may they thereafter obtain the two holy bodies which result from these two accumulation. By the blessing of the Buddha, Sanjay, who obtained the three bodies, by the blessing of the immutable truth of the Dharmada, Chunyi, by the blessing of the infallible aspiration of the Sangha, Gendun, may this prayer of dedications be accomplished just as it is. Thank you and have a good day. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Tuku.
Thank you. Dojilha Mo.